Folks, David here on the Vintage Future once again, and I want to do a review on these Whites semi-dress boots. So the story with these is I originally got these through Baker's as a made-to-order. I had them, customized. It's a really good way to go. Instead of buying a stock Whites model off Whites website, go through Baker's in Oregon. They have a website you can customize, and then there's a lot of options, kind of like this black tongue, that aren't listed on the drop-down menus, but you can request it. Tons of stuff. You could do that. I and they don't really recommend it, but if you want the narrower heel, you could have them do a heel clamp. You can have them do an open instep. In other words, they cut this instep back further, like for people with low insteps, so that when you lace the boots up, it's not like super close and tight like that. So there's just all kinds of things you can do, whether it's listed on the menu or not. You can at least ask about it. You could have them put like a taller shaft on it. There's just so many options that they can do for you there. So anyways, I went through them. It turned out great, but this is actually a different boot. Same pair of boots, but after that, I had them altered by Unsung. So if you look at this picture here, originally this had a double midsole, and I loved that at the time. I actually never stopped loving it. It's just that it became impractical. So once the novelty of it wore off, it was like, you know what? I'm going to wear this boot more if I just make it a normal boot. But the double midsole was cool. It was like, bomb-proof, ultra supportive, really comfortable for all day wear. But the thing is, it was just a little bit heavy, and I felt like the look was a bit much. Like, I liked it. I would wear it. It's just that it doesn't go with every fit, right? It would go with some, but not others, because I feel like that big double midsole was just a little bit polarizing, So anyways, I was like, I want it to be normal. So I sent it to Unsung in Nashville. Grant and his brother are doing a great job, and he did a resole and kept the last. So yeah, they've been a bit worn now, so it's like a little harder to tell just how clean their work was. But when I sent these boots to them, they were a little bit rough, like classic Whites, like here and on the other side, right here, there's just a ton of crazy chewed up stitching. And then in this area right here, on the original pair, like there's like this crazy flap of leather sticking out, and it was wonky stitching and stuff. And other than that, it was pretty good. Like, all this is kind of original, this stitching and stuff. So it's not like Whites did an absolutely awful job, but it definitely wasn't like the cleanest thing you've ever seen. Sent these to Unsung. They resoled them. As you can see, single midsole with this half sole. This is a Vibram V-Bar sole. And then they reshaped, they did a new heel, and they reshaped this heel. Beautiful work by them. And I want you to notice this part right here, where they kind of carve the edge. It's just really straight, all the way around. Shows that they're really taking their time. Unlike my recent roll clubs, where that whole thing right there, it's like wavy, like you just kind of hacked it with a knife, It just showed that it was done as kind of a rush job, but they're really taking their time. Granted, they don't have the same workload, so I'm not saying it's an objective, like really final say on comparing those two companies. I'm just trying to compare the boots, So these guys are headed good places, doing good things. I'm excited to see what they come up with in the future. Anyways, they did a really good job resoling. They hand welted this, and it's pretty clean. It's never going to be quite as clean, because with the Whites, there's this extra part of the vamp sticking off, and they tried to keep that. We could have removed it, I guess, but keeping that makes it a little rougher. But overall, like it's a really cool stitch job there. Really nice. And for a Whites boot, like, it doesn't need to be much nicer than that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that it would make sense to have this like ultra pristine welts on something like a white. Not that it would be bad. I'm just saying the rest of the boot's not like that, you know. So anyways, so yeah, this is to give you the specs again of Vibram half sole V-Bar by Unsung with the Unsung heel. They really did a good job shaping this heel. And then this midsole was a slightly different color, so they put the edge dressing on and it kind of evened it out. You know, not perfectly. The darker edge dressing is what he recommended to make it really blend in, and I was like, no, I kind of want lighter. So we went with that, and I think that worked out. But they just did a great job shaping that heel, and I was really happy with the work. He was really communicative and all that. You know, for the most part, nice and smooth in here. Again, not like absolutely like dress shoe perfect, but for something of this aesthetic, you know, definitely what you would expect. So anyways, one thing that people ask about a lot is the arch support in a whites boot. And I will say, having tried Nicks and whites, it is a big arch support. I mean, what they say is true. It does feel like there's a wooden dowel in there, like inside your arch. I think as you wear it, it breaks in. The leather begins to mold, and some people say it breaks your foot in, like it makes your foot mold to it. And after a while, it gets very comfortable. It's nice for all day wear because it's just supporting your arch very nicely. However, some people might not like it. It's one of those things I can't really tell you if you're going to like it or not. Some people find that massive support really nice. Other people just get tired of it, you know. And so I was fine with it. But when Grant redid these boots at Unsung, you know, because he's resoling it, he didn't replace all of that, you know. He didn't build up this huge arch support. So there's still some in there. Like, he definitely kept some, but I don't have that crazy arch support anymore. And I'm okay with that. I have flat feet, so it helps, but it's not like essential. And I don't wear these with an insole or anything. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the arch support, in case you were wondering. From there, you've got the hand welt. Whites does this sort of Veltashone kind of thing where it's like a combination of a welt with stitch down. I'm not going to presume to know exactly how that all works, so I'll leave that to someone else for another video. I've said it in the past in a way that was incorrect, and people corrected me, and I appreciated that, but I was just like, I'm not really like a guy that, like, I have a friend Jimmy and Ian and a lot of these other guys on the Stitch Down Discord. They'll like tear the boots apart and really get into like, oh, how's this welt made and stuff. And I'm not really that guy, so I don't know how they do it exactly, but it's just, I'll tell you, it's a combination of welting and stitch down. And it does look kind of like this. And so Unsung maintained that for the most part. And this is the C461 Last. I like it better than the 55. The 55 is a very good last, but it's a little rounder here, whereas this kind of gets almondy right here, you know. It's more narrow right here. Whereas the 55 is just more like round, and it's kind of a blob. This kind of has this like shape to it, you know. And I really like that shape. So it's a good happy medium between something that's really worky, you know, work bootish, and something that's kind of stylish, I think. So, and then the C461 also has this spring in the toe right here. And I love this back here, this huge jog in the heel. Very supportive. That heel cup just grabs your heel. And it makes this look really good too. Like this shape to me, I mean, that's just, it's got a bod, you know. This boot is, it's a handsome boot. It really looks unique in that way. So I'm a big fan of the C461 Last. White's Japan, yeah, Sumptown, Japan. Certain shop over there in Japan. They have this kind of apron stitch split toe boot on the 461, and you can really see the beauty of the contours of that last. So I'm a huge fan of the C461. By far, it's my favorite whites last. So I highly recommend the semi-dress style, which has this stitch diagonally across the quarter on both sides. I really like that style, the semi-dress, but I especially like it with the C461 Last. I couldn't recommend that last enough over and against the 4811 and the 55 and even the Berry Last that they put the MP on. Like, those lasts are good, but I just don't find them particularly compelling. There's nothing special about those lasts to me. I'm like, looks functional. It's like another work boot last. Like, there's nothing memorable about it, right? They're ultimately like a little, just the last shape itself. I'm not talking about the boot or the style. The shape itself, it's a bit forgettable. You know, there's nothing particularly special about those lasts to me, anyways. But when I see the C461 with this curve here, the way this heel is shaped like this, you know, this shape here, the side profile, and all that, I'm just like, psh, that looks so good, and it's very comfortable. Yeah, this is color 8, otherwise known as Burgundy Chrome XL from the Horween Tannery in Chicago. Many of you will already know about them. So that's nothing special, but it's just something I really love. I like that color of Chrome XL. Like, that's the color I really like. I like brown boots, so I like brown Chrome XL. I don't particularly like black Chrome XL. It's just very like painted looking to me. I don't know if it's a different dye or what, but yeah. And then the natural can look really good after it's warmed up and aged and stuff, but often it looks kind of pale. But the color 8 though, I just really dig. I've just always loved any boot I've ever had in this color, especially if it's got a black tongue or something. I like how Chrome XL is really soft. It's one thing I've grown to appreciate about it. The break-in's a lot easier. It's just a really comfortable boot. For all seasons, really. I mean, a lot of people like to wear sandals during the warmer months, you know, and that's understandable. But if you do wear boots during the summer months, I just feel like Chrome XL kind of really helps. You know, maybe a suede boot. I like these eyelets. I did brass eyelets again to copy this Vibram from Brooklyn Clothing Company that has the brass eyes and the black tongue. And I've always thought that looked really sharp. And so I copied that there. I threw Vibram laces in it. This originally came with like leather laces and some a little more generic looking whites laces, which weren't bad, but I love Vibram's laces. So I throw them on basically everything. So yeah, they're great. They're comfortable. I think they look amazing. Color 8 Chrome XL goes with a lot of stuff. I have a pigeon tree crafting belt that matches these, you know, for when I tuck my shirt in, or if I don't tuck my shirt in, and then, you know, it just doesn't really matter. But yeah, man, it's a killer boot. It's got a structured toe here. Single elastic was the option I chose, and it's has yet to collapse on me. And I like that. Keep it a little bit perky. What other options did I get? It's not lined. I didn't line it. As far as sizing goes, I'm a 10.5 C, almost D on a Brannick device. That's my heel to ball. My overall length is a 10 C, almost D. And I went with a 10 in these. So you kind of want to, I mean, everyone's foot's a little different. Depends if your heel to ball is bigger than your overall or vice versa, right? But like for people like me who have a measurement sort of like that, I just go half down from my heel to ball. And Baker's kind of does a different deal where you trace your foot out and they recommend a size, and they get really creative with it, and I think they're really good at that. So they probably would have recommended like a 9.5 double E or something interesting. I just like to stay normal. So a 10D. This is a 10D. 10D, half down from my heel to ball. That seemed to work perfectly fine. And again, I said I'm a C width, almost D. Honestly, now I like a little extra room. Nowadays, I just consider it to be a D, you know, because I'm like, I'm close enough, and we're talking 1/16 of an inch here, like the difference between one width and another. Once you get that close, like once you're on the cusp, it's like a 1/16 more, and I would be a D width, you know. So it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna call it a D. you know? It doesn't make sense to just be like, oh, that's a C, it's a C. So anyways, it's a great fit. It's kind of heavy, but not too heavy. Goes with a lot of things. And I really love these boots. And I think Unsung did a great job with these boots. So if you're thinking about whites, I would really recommend this as a good middle of the road boot that kind of does it all. It's not too slim. That's the thing with my wide leg jeans, my straight fits. I don't really want to wear the MP anymore. It's just, it looks like this little tiny torpedo thing sticking out beneath my pant leg, which the highliners from Clinch are kind of the same. So it might sound like a double standard, but I feel like they're different because there's a shaft that's tall. So like if my pant leg comes up a little bit, especially if I'm sitting down or whatever, but even as I'm walking and stuff and you see the pant leg come up, you see the shaft, and so there's this something substantive underneath the pant leg. And I feel like that makes a big difference. Whereas if it's a low, like 5-inch, 6-inch boot, the shaft is cut off and the pant leg's coming up, this big pant leg's coming up, and you're like seeing your sock constantly. It just looks like this little object, like this tiny little boot, like underneath the pant leg. So maybe it's just me. Like maybe I just need to get over that. But like when I am wearing them and see myself in the mirror, when I see pictures of me wearing the MPs or something like that, even like a Vibram 2030 now, to be honest, underneath my big pant leg, I don't particularly love the look. I just like stuff that's a little bigger underneath that pant leg, fills it out a little more. Or if it's not big, like the highliner, like not big in the toe here, I like there to be some kind of a shaft. You know, the engineer boots that I've been wearing, nice big boot. It's got that nice shaft on it. The Vibram 310 is short, but it has a big toe, you know, and so I think that looks really good. But this is a good middle of the road boot. This is where I would start with whites, and this is one of their classic designs that you're not going to find anywhere else. Like, I'm sure someone could easily copy it, but nobody really has. So if you want this semi-dress look with this diagonal stitch and all that, like they're the only place you're going to get that, which I think is really cool too. Because with their other boots, there's always going to be another company out there that has something fairly similar. But with the semi-dress, I mean, they're the only ones. So I just really think this is a handsome, stately boot that works for everything, and I would highly recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed that review. And always let your boots take you to places more important than the boots themselves. We'll talk to you next time.